Hello and welcome to the Musical Instrument Investigator. Today on the website of Galerie Moenius Auctions, based in Germany and Switzerland. I believe this catalogue is a German one. We're going to have a look at a really interesting auction today. That's Historical Musical Instruments, Arts and Antiques, and this is the collection of Professor Dr. Rudolf Erhardt. Before we get going, I'd just like to say I'm recording in a different place today, so it might be a little bit noisy and there's not much I can do about that, unfortunately, but we'll see how it goes. Other than that, if you enjoy these videos, please consider subscribing, like or comment, because it really does help. So yes, this is a very important collection here. Dr. Rudolf Erhardt was an expert on organs, a musicologist, and many other things in between. I can't really do justice to his musical legacy. It's best that you kind of look him up yourself, but clearly an interesting character and very knowledgeable from his collection. And he lived with his wife essentially in a Baroque castle in Germany, so pretty curious. So this is basically the contents of his house or castle. We're just going to have a look at the musical instrument part of this, which is about 147 lots. There are loads of other lots which are various kind of antiques and books. There's some incredible like early kind of scriptures and other music related things and pictures, so I definitely recommend that you have a look at it, and I'll put a link in the description. But musical instrument related things, about 147. So this auction is due to finish on March the 18th. It's the 15th today, so a few days to go. The buyer's premium is 26%, so that's what you pay on top. So bear in mind this is an auction in Germany, so if you're outside of Germany or outside of Europe, etc., check the terms and conditions, import, export, any CITES material kind of stuff, all of that jazz. So without further ado, let's just have a look at what we've got, and we'll try and do it as quickly as we can. So we have some interesting music stand here. We won't get into it too much because we have a lot of lots. Another music stand from the 1860s, so some interesting music stands if you're into that. Another one here, interesting blue colour. Double music stand there from about 1840. This is all very interesting stuff. I'm just moving on so that we can get to the instruments as soon as possible, but very interesting auction. An Italian music stand of some kind from 1700, so that's quite interesting. I think we should probably look at this one in more detail. I mean, this collection has some incredible organs and harpsichords, and it really is quite a staggering auction. Another choir music stand here from the 17th century, 400 euros. The estimates are really low on this. I'm sure that some of this stuff is historically important and is going to go for crazy money, so that's a very interesting stand. And there's a whole load of different ones there. Nothing too crazy about that. An unsigned historical violin, half size, probably Mark Nykirkin. I think this is pretty much a generic trade violin. I don't think Dr. Erhardt was too knowledgeable about violins, or indeed had a good violins. Another historical violin here, starting price 80 euros. Let's kind of have a look at this. Once again, I think this is like a German violin, not the usual kind of trade violin. Well, it is, but like an older type one with the inked purfling, so nothing super crazy there. And an unsigned violin bow in historical wooden case. Also violin with bow. There's a lot of information on this, but I think we can probably skip past it. Let's just have a look at the main bits. Once again, I think it's just another trade violin. Another violin here. Let's have a look at this. Put up a few pictures. Once again, I think this is another fairly clear example of a trade violin. this one as well. I don't think we need to go into that so deep. Let's have a look at this. Historic violin with decorated back. I think that this is just another trade type violin, but let's look at it more closely to be sure. Yeah, I think that's still fairly uninspiring. Historical violin with bow and box repaired. Johann Malka, Berlin. €150 to start with. Certainly looks like it might be a little bit more interesting than some of the others, but it looks like the varnish is potentially being messed around with a bit, but more interesting than the other instruments so far. They put a lot of information into this auction, so fair play to the auctioneers for that. An old case there, not so exciting. This is an extremely interesting instrument, this half bass German or Bohemian around 1700. This is absolutely fascinating. If I had the money, I would definitely buy this. This is an incredible looking instrument, really amazing, and I'm sure that this will definitely sell. We'll just read the blurb on this one. A very rare 4-stringed instrument with a spruce top is playable. 1 string broke. The instrument has been restored several times. There is a crossbar under the bridge which is connected to the floor by 2 reed blocks. A kind of central rib can be seen in the inside of the ceiling. The bassettle are a link between the cello, viola da gamba and double bass, and were used right up to the Viennese classic period. The instrument was restored by Johannes Loescher in Cologne. Interesting, really fascinating instrument this. That could be the front of the video, the thumbnail. Really interesting, and like I said, if I had the money to bid on that, I think I definitely would. Here is a hurdy-gurdy there from 1800, unrestored. To see €20 as the start bid is really quite ludicrous when you think about it. I mean, this is covered in woodworm, but this is a really interesting historical nice old hurdy-gurdy here, so really interesting. Collection of random kind of instruments there, kind of zither related and other bowed instruments there. That's the zither here. It's more kind of bowed instrument. This is kind of fairly interesting. I wonder if that could actually have a fair amount of age to it. Kind of early fiddle of some kind. So interesting. Miniature kind of cellos. Here's 2 double bass bows and a violin bow. Let's see if we can see anything from here. Difficult to say. The German style of bass bows there. Contrabass bow Expion by Emile Auguste Auchard, €4,000. So they definitely know what they're doing. It's got a bit of a split there, I think, in a few places. So interesting looking bow. Unsigned contrabass here, 4,800 they're looking for. I think we're seeing a bit of a pattern here that at least the things that we're seeing so far are not in the greatest of conditions, but if you have a massive collection, maybe you've spent most of your money in obtaining stuff rather than maintaining it. Here's a harp zither and Stossel bass lute, 20th century. This kind of harp zither is actually quite nice, nicer than most of these things. It's almost looks like an elephant or something, so that's quite curious. Unsigned Biedermeier guitar, 19th century, €50. Can't argue with that. I don't think that's a very high quality one, so €50 is about right. Historical Cittern and Neapolitan mandolin. Okay, nothing too crazy to see there. Guitar with inlaid landscape, 1920s. This is basically a kind of trade guitar, not particularly exciting. Yangjin zither, China, beginning of the 20th century, 50 euros there. A vintage pigeon zither and small-headed zither, Hungary. Okay, interesting. All interesting objects. A psalterium, unsigned. Okay, interesting. Or a hackbrett, psalterio, all the different names. That's really beautiful case. 400 euros, that's absolutely crazy. It's surely got to go way over that. Very interesting 18th century item there, very nice. Bohemian hook harp, around 1810, 300 euros. That once again seems absolutely outrageously low estimates. I'm sure this stuff is going to go absolutely crazy. This is a beautiful looking harp, really nice looking. Look at that, that has got a beautiful profile. I think there's some really interesting items in this auction. For me, another Salterio here, Johannes Antonius Cappelletti, Italy, 1743, 600 euros. This just doesn't really make sense, the estimates at all. But really interesting looking there. Very curious. Okay, so we have an Erard square piano here by the Erard brothers, 400 euros. Once again, these estimates are slightly crazy. Erard, very kind of respectable maker of pianos and also harps, so good to see that there. A harmonium attributed to Anton Haeckel, Vienna, around 1825. It's quite sweet, 500 euros there. This is interesting. Forte piano by Johann Georg Grober, Innsbruck, around 1815, 7,000 on this. That makes sense. It's quite a stunning looking forte piano there. Oh, I don't know what that is, probably to hear it play. So I expect that this will probably sell fairly well. Another square piano by Muzio Clementi, around 1810, 500 euros on that. Wow, it's just, look at that, the legs on this, that's absolutely stunning. That's a really incredible looking instrument there, but expensive to ship out of Germany. Historical tuning keys, curious. A historic Italian clavichord, unsigned, 2,000 euros. That is pretty mad. The instrument shows characteristics of the early clavichords from the 16th century, but they're not confirming. The instrument was purchased in 1986 at Sotheby's in London. Okay, interesting. So this one is one for the historic keyboard collectors. This definitely is in a bit of a kind of state, as it were. It's had a fairly tough life, but really beautiful kind of painted inside of the case there, kind of port kind of fishing scene. Here we go, we've got another instrument here, another kind of piano type instrument, anonymous, interesting. That's quite curious here. So we've lost the English there for some reason, not sure why. 1,500 euros on that. Viennese forte piano, this one. between 1825 and 1830. Okay. A harmonica by Michael Schweighofer, Vienna, circa 1830. Right, this is one of the impressive ones here. An Italian organ by Nicola Mancini, 1766. So that's quite impressive. Naples, €22,000. So looking for that. As I said, Dr. Erwart was expert on organs, so you would expect him to have some pretty impressive things in his collection, and this is definitely quite impressive. So if you're interested in organs, then this might be something that you would like to acquire. Okay, so we have a lyre piano by Johann Christian Schleip, Berlin, circa 1840. These are quite curious. €2,000 there is the estimate on this one. Let's see if we can get the internet is not wanting to work. Really fascinating collection here, and many more to go as well. Right, this is one of the most interesting lots, I think, in this auction. An Italian virginal by Baptista Cargnonis Salodigi Salo, 1682. Completely destroyed all of that name there, 100%, but really interesting virginal, like a smaller type of harpsichord. Very, very interesting looking instrument, this. Very curious. This, I think, could really be an interesting instrument for a collection. Once again, yeah. So the instrument has an extraordinary history, which also explains the external condition. Okay. As Dr. Erwart visited an antique shop in northern Italy in the southern foothills of the Alps in search of new exhibits for his collection, an old chair placed on top of the side of the road signalled that antiques were being sold here. He was able to strike up a conversation between the shopkeeper and overhear a customer, where the businessman was offered an old piano in a box. This served as a feeding box for the chickens. After a short conversation, it was agreed that the owner would take this feeding box to the antique shop the next day, and Mr. Erwart would examine it. The exact sales modalities are not known. In any case, the virginal found its way from the chicken coop into the collection. Okay, that's pretty crazy. So that kind of makes sense why the case is in such a terrible condition. That's really quite bizarre. Right, an unfretted German clavichord by Christoph Friedrich Schmal, Regensburg, 1805. Got €7,000 on this. Another interesting keyboard instrument. Small piano by Johannes Kilianus Merken, Paris, 1797. This one is €1,500 starting bid. This is another interesting one. Unsigned field harmonium, possibly Austria, circa 1910, for €20 on that one. And forte piano, signed C. Graf, probably Vienna, 1820-1830, €2,000. That seems awfully cheap. It's an interesting forte piano. And we have an unsigned Italian organ with attached pedal, Emilia Romana, circa 1700, 19,000 on this one. Another substantial organ from the collection. Really, really fascinating collection of instruments, this. Right, an unsigned German square piano, circa 1760 to 1780. €800 there. Another lyre piano there by F.A. Klein, Berlin, 3,000. They're looking for that. Right, an Italian unsigned Ottavino octave spinet, possibly, or spinet, possibly Venice, circa 1700. Okay, 4,400 on that. Nice painted case. Don't often see octave spinets. And a square piano by Caspar Katholic, Vienna, circa 1850, €100. This looks in a bit of a state of disrepair. A German square piano by Johann Matthias Schiffmann, Duesmund, Braunberg, circa 1780, 1790, 1800 on this one. And an unsigned small square piano, Pantalon, possibly Italy, circa 1770, 1780, 2,200 on this one. I think we're going to have to use a keyboard instrument as the image. Really, we can't use the other instrument given all of these interesting organs. Pianino by Thomas Walker, Trier, circa 1845. A new matometer, wind pressure testing for organ building. Interesting. Not seen one of those before, so that's quite curious. Convolute of historical piano parts and dust cover. Okay. Spare parts for a forte piano. Spare legs from a German square piano. Some more candle holders from organ instruments. And a signal trumpet and kangling Tibet with the shape of a dragon. Okay. Tenor horn, baritone in B, Franz Johann Stoesser, Graslitz, 19th century. Fanfare and French cornet with tassels. A Cornu, Busina, Italy, replica, 19th, 20th century. Unsigned natural horn, hunting horn. A valve trombone, tenor in B, E. Hess, probably 20th century. It's an interesting looking valve trombone there. €40 starting. And we have ocarina in terracotta and ocarina in metal. Another ocarina of porcelain. Another porcelain ocarina in G though, with floral decoration and tuning device. That's interesting. I've never seen an ocarina quite like that before. That's very curious. 2 unsigned signal horns. Unsigned bronze cross horn, Africa. So let's have a look at that. That's an interesting kind of figure at the top of that. That's a curious looking horn. Mouthpieces for horn and trumpet. Ethnological wind instrument, possibly Zurna. Another ethnological wind instrument made of wood, possibly Mizmar. Okay. Unsigned cabaret, potentially historical windcap shawm, 16th century. Okay, €300 on this, so potentially a important historical woodwind instrument there. Oboe, Meno e Orsi, after 1880, Milan, Italy, €50. 2 piccolo flutes, J. Stark & Co. London. Unsigned historical clarinet, €80. It's quite a nice looking clarinet. Another historical clarinet, circa 1850, Anton Kraus, Augsburg. Basset horn by G. Huller from Schoneck, Germany, after 1878, €400 on that. Oh, this is curious. Breton, Bombard and Crumhorn from the 20th century. And an alto clarinet signed Giozo Capesi, Italy, around circa 1850 there, €1,500 on that. Italian bagpipe set, Zampogna Chiave plus single bagpipe, once again destroying all languages in these videos. Looks interesting. €150. Wooden flute signed Ball, Bevan & Co. London, 19th century, €30 on that. Set of 4 historical transverse flutes. German transverse flute by Friedrich Gabriel August Kirst, Potsdam, circa 1780. Well, we should probably go back to that. That's 3,400 on that. So looks like this is the origins of the transverse flute here. So this is a transverse flute made by an early maker. Collection of recorders there. And African wooden transverse horn. An unsigned harmony flute, possibly Paris, circa 1855. Some tuning keys. Right. A wall climber upright hammer wing, John Broadwin & Sons, London. Upright forte piano. Okay, I don't think I've seen one of these in person or in an auction before, so that's a new one. That's interesting to see, an upright forte piano. €300 they've got on that. Forte piano by Franz Rausch, Vienna, circa 1840. €200 on that. Another interesting harpsichord, Italian harpsichord signed Mario Serafini, 1699, possibly Rome. €7,000 on this. That's a nice looking case. Doesn't look like it's got the original case decorations. Unsigned German square piano there from the 18th century. 1800 on that. Forte piano by Johann Heilmann of Offenbach, circa 1805. €7,000 on that. Nice looking instrument there. And unsigned pianino, probably southern Germany or Switzerland, around 1840. And unsigned Italian virginal with Chinoiseries, circa 1650, 1700. So it has kind of Chinese inspired decoration, or chinoiserie, however is best to pronounce it. Interesting looking virginal here. €7,500 on that one. And square piano by Johannes Broadwood, London, 1787. Interesting. Look at some more details on this. Oh, very interesting. And a forte piano by Johann Georg Klein, 6,000 on that one. An unsigned Italian processional organ, Lombardy, circa 1700, 15,000 on this. So he definitely had a few large organs, Dr. Earhart. I'm sure there's collectors waiting for these. Harmonium by F. Kaufmann & Sons, Dresden, circa 1855. Another pianino by Johann Eichler, 1860. An English square piano signed Guillermus Glover, London, 1776, €1,500 on that. Table square piano, by Johann Müller, Berlin, circa 1830, €100 on that. Wow. Another forte piano with built-in psycharmonica, Anton Tomaszek, Vienna, circa 1840, €4,400 on that. Really need a historical keyboard expert to go through this catalogue with me, because it's definitely a bit out of my zone. French style square piano, Brooks from Benfeld, Alsace, 1842. €50 are starting, but some of these estimates are just bonkers. €50, that's crazy. What a nice looking instrument. Some more tuning keys there. This is probably one of my favourite lots, an unsigned Bible harmonium, probably France, circa 1860. So basically like a regal portative organ. I think that's really cool. Designed to look like basically a Bible that you can take around with you. €400 starting price. Surely that's got to go way higher than that. And French harmonica by Favier, Paris, 1836. An unsigned square piano, Saxony or Switzerland, circa 1800. Downstriking forte piano attributed to Nanette Streicher in Vienna, circa 1827. That's a really incredible looking forte piano, that one. That design is really something else. Very interesting design on that instrument. And we've got some Hohner harmonica and some other smaller kind of instruments there. Forte piano by Johann Baptist Streicher, Vienna, circa 1850. And French style unsigned square piano, circa 1810. €50. Looks like it needs a bit of TLC there. Unsigned small harmonica, Paris, 1830. Historical organ bench in softwood, €10. Excellent. Height adjustable piano stool, probably English, circa 1860. Wow. Stately Empire piano bench, possibly French, around 1820. It's a beautiful bench. Another piano bench there. More kind of piano stools. Wow, that's quite a fancy one there. €50. Another piano stool here, 1780. Another one there. Another one possibly English. Let's see what else we've got here. More stands here. That's interesting. Percussion instruments, cymbals, chromatic lyre, glockenspiel, tambourines, triangles. Good collection of instruments there. Historical medium-sized drum. Okay, €50 on that. Large marching drums signed from Zvettel, Austria, around 1847. €50. Large Good Friday ratchet bead Careplo, possibly around 1900. Okay, interesting. And rattles. All these kind of sound making, noise making device type things. Some Jews harps here, interesting. Some bells and jingles. Okay, lamellophones, possibly Mercapata or Sansa. Okay. Pair of Baroque timpani with original mallets, Austria, South Tyrol, 17th, 18th century. Wow, €440. I mean, how often do you see kind of 17th or 18th century timpani? Realistically, seems a crazy price. Reversible drum, possibly Africa. Batons and metronomes. Bird Serenette by Voriot, Mirecourt, France, 1800. And a Serenette around 1900. L. Schaffer, probably Germany, 19th century. Unsigned roller piano. Roller music box. I think we're getting closer to the end of the instruments now. Another roller music box, possibly forte piano. Small model of a harp there. Fragment of terracotta flute and terracotta horn. Okay, a bell campanello from Emilia Romagna, Italy, 16th or 17th century. Small antique bell with patina, €20. Four small historical bells. Interesting. A lot of information on there. And then a group of 5 bells and cymbals of varying uses. And I think that is basically it. Now we're on to the historical music, so we're not going to go into that, but just to say that there is some amazing stuff if we just kind of skip through a bit and get into art and kind of books, and then towards the end there's kind of furniture that you might expect to see if you were living in a Baroque castle a little bit, so you can see it. So it really is a crazy auction. So if you are interested in historical instruments of all kinds, really fine kind of instruments, especially organs or harpsichords or forte pianos, any kind of keyboard instruments, this is the auction for you. There's some super rare stuff in here. It's really very interesting. I can't quite do it justice because I'm not very knowledgeable about those types of instruments, I'm afraid, but I thought I'd just bring it to your attention. I'll put a link in the description as always, so I recommend that you check it out and see what you think. If you've got any kind of questions or any knowledge that you want to share about these types of instruments, please do. So link in the description as always, and thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye. Many thanks for tuning in to the Musical Instrument Investigator. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, then please like, subscribe and turn on notifications, and watch out for the next video coming soon.